Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land.
Not that first.
Not first.
I'm the Andrew this evening, Benny. I'm the Andrew.
Read the show notes.
No, you're wrong.
Oh.
All right. Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 260 of Canadian Patriot Podcast. The All Throne Speech episode, recorded September 23rd, 2020. I'm Gavin. I will be your Andrew this evening. Joining me is Dave, Ian, and Benny.
We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit us at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. A version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
All right. Check out the podcast also at Facebook /Canadian Patriot Podcast and on the IGs as well.
We need your help. To support the show, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Since we moved to the 2-show-a-week COVID format, or Throne Speech format, patrons also get early access to the midweek show. Show You're Not a Communist, buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
Awesome. And now everybody's favorite segment of the show, what are we drinking? Ian, what are you drinking this evening?
Well, in honor of the throne speech, I thought I'd break out the Venezuelan rum. So rum and Coke tonight. Just thought I'd inoculate myself slowly to the advent of communism.
Excellent choice. David?
I'm drinking the old Coors, I guess, original now, not Banquet, but close enough, I guess.
Benny?
I'm drinking the Gatorade.
It's important to hydrate. I've got a can of Stella and a can of Moosehead this evening, mixing it up.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
I also found some Signal Hill on the weekend, actually. It's quite good.
Yes. It is very good. I enjoy it thoroughly.
As patriotic Canadians, is Moosehead not Canada's oldest brewery?
I believe it is.
If
not, it is one of them. That's for sure. I'm reading the can here right now. Established in 1867.
Oh.
So that sounds
certainly
pretty old to
convenient.
me. Yeah.
I mean, Sleeman's, I think, up there, but anyways.
Well, yeah. I don't know, Dave, did you want to talk quickly about the Operational Service Pistol Championships, or do you want to wait until Andrew's here?
I'll wait.
You guys are...
Yeah,
You'll wait?
I'll wait till my teammate joins us, maybe next week.
Excellent.
To share on that one.
All right, so yeah, this will be the All Throne Speech episode, because that's what happened today in the news. A lot of pomp and circumstance with it. It was like 45 minutes to an hour of people with black rods banging on doors and the sergeant at arms holding the mace. And neither of those two people hit anyone with them, which is kind of sad.
Which you would think that like the least useful politician would be like the one voted off the island, so to speak, and maybe maced it in public, like Negan style. But
yeah, no, that was sad. I mean, about the most exciting thing that happened during the whole thing was there were a bunch of different people protesting. So the natives were there asking for clean drinking water. People were protesting climate change on both sides of the argument of climate change. Anti-abortion and anti-maskers apparently were all there. 60 people of them, roughly, according to the parliamentary police, who were keeping an eye on them due to their passion, was the words that were used when I was watching anyways. So they were worried they might get a little out of hand. Sadly, that wasn't the case. Everyone was fairly well behaved.
I'm actually kind of happy the natives showed up there to talk about the drinking water, because that is definitely a visible sign of the broken parliamentary promises that were made in 2016, right?
It was mentioned at least 2 or 3 times in the throne speech.
Yeah.
Something else that was a little bit shocking, the Governor General dressed all in white after Labor Day.
How could she?
Yeah.
Tisk.
Complete disregard for our social norms.
Yeah.
Are you even Canadian?
This is crazy. Also, a little bit odd was that they did a 21 gun salute with some firearms that are technically prohibited.
21
Well-
gun salute to what? To Canada as a country?
Well,
Or
it's all
they-
part of the pomp and circumstance, right? Like the PM comes in and riding in on his unicorn, and they play the national anthem, and then he walks down a red carpet, and the Governor General comes in, and they do the same thing, and they play God Save the Queen because she's the Queen's representative and all that. But there was a 21 gun salute where they had people holding patrol carbines, is what they would call them when the government has them, or service rifles. They fired those into the air, and they also fired giant cannons that are definitely over 20 millimeters and definitely over 10,000 joules. All of things which have no place in Canada except during a ceremony for Canada.
For the shiniest pony.
But were they not
Dude,
designed to kill the most
remember-
amount of people in the least amount of time, or something like that?
Remember, shiniest
Yeah.
pony gets to do as he wants. You have to do as he says.
Yeah.
There's two levels.
Yeah.
The rules for
You're
him
here,
and the rules for the
He's up
police.
here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I thought it was rules for thee and rules for we, which is why he did the whole charity thing, because he thought that there were different rules for we. And then it's also the royal we as well.
Yes, we are not amused.
Yeah. Some other sort of interesting things that happened was that while the MPs were gathered at the House of Commons, all parties agreed to voting remotely things.
Okie dokie.
So I guess one of the things that the Conservatives were pushing hard for was to not have that, and that Parliament must happen in person. But I guess with Wave 2 nigh upon us, they have reluctantly fallen into line with their other parties and have agreed to online voting for things, which I guess in some respect is a good thing, because maybe attendance of the votes will be better.
But could they not just
that seems to matter.
Because they not just got them to make a decision and actually do a confidence vote right off the bat? I mean, why does it have to wait 2 weeks?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, because now you put your money where your mouth is. Either if Jagmeet Singh's holding out for more in order to get his vote, I guess it's going to show now. But I would just say, do it or don't. Make it
Yeah.
So I've read correctly, the Bloc and the Conservatives are firmly against the throne speech.
Well,
Can we explain what that means?
We don't
when
know
they say
for
that?
sure, because both leaders of the Bloc and the Conservative Party, so O'Toole and Blanchette, have been diagnosed positively with COVID-19, so they were not in attendance for the throne speech.
How convenient.
The headline I saw was Candace Bergeron
But
saying
yes,
this.
The Conservatives were, I think, on the fence previously. The Bloc were definitely 100% for voting down the throne speech. But it appears now that, yes, the Conservatives are in favor of voting down the throne speech. So basically what that means is if enough people vote down the throne speech, that means they do not approve of the government's plan, and it is a vote of no confidence, which then triggers an election.
Huh.
Typically, though, it's sort of poor form to vote down the throne speech because, there's no real details or anything in it. It's usually just supposed to be,
As we saw, dog and pony show.
well, yeah, but sort of a very, very high-level, positive attitude, kind of things are great, yeah, So it's typically poor form to do that. Where they would normally do it is in the budget that will be following shortly. But that doesn't mean that they can't vote it down. I mean, it certainly has been done previously by other people, so we'll see. But I mean, at the end of the whole thing, Jagmeet did not say that he would vote it down. He said that he's not particularly happy with the Liberals and that they talk a good game, but they have yet to do anything. And he will see how it goes, which basically means he's not going to vote it down, because if he does, he's likely to lose power because the NDP has never had it as good as they currently do.
Well,
same as the Greens.
Yeah, he's never been more relevant.
Basically, he's the same as Justin, because he's all about talk. Oh, he wants it better, but he's never going to vote. He's not going to do anything about it. He's not going to actually vote and say, "Hey,
I want change."
Yeah, he's also just talking a big game.
I mean, the Liberal and the NDP agendas are almost exactly the same. It's just that the NDP agenda has 10 more sick days, which he's pushing for. So if Trudeau throws him those sick days, he'll call that a win and basically support whatever it is the Liberals want, as we've seen previously with these, COVID extensions and everything else.
Well, clearly you have to add more money for the media, because Dan Martin from the CTV, which I was actually surprised about, actually decided to put it in print that it was basically just a rehash of his 2016 election promises that he hasn't kept. And and so basically he's just like, so it's the same thing you're promising like 4 years ago and nothing's happened. So what the hell? So good for him for actually like breaking ranks with the bought and paid for media.
Yeah,
well, they already got the check, so they can do what they want now.
Yeah, I mean, like, so Dan Martin from CTV there, Dave, he actually put out a tweet today, and he just said basically the entire thing was a crock of shit, basically, for lack of a better term, because it's just a rehash of what he's promised before it didn't deliver.
No, yeah, obviously. I mean, it only took 5 years for them to wake up and finally smell the goddamn coffee. I mean, I guess better late than never, right?
Broken clock twice a day type of thing, yeah.
Yeah. Some other things, I guess, that happened today in conjunction with all this before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it. The Minister of Employment, Workforce Development, and Disability Inclusion introduced a bill right at 2:00 that relates to COVID-19 sick leave benefit, unemployment benefit. So we don't really know what's in it yet because it was literally just dropped right before the throne speech. But,
Sorry, this is a federal thing?
Yes. So the federal Minister of Employment, Workforce Development, and Disability Inclusion dropped a bill right before the thing, because that's sort of how the Liberals like to do it, is drop a bill and then say, don't look over here.
Is that not surprisingly sound a lot like universal basic income to you?
It does. It definitely sounds like they are moving closer and closer towards universal basic income. So this, along with all of the things that were said at the various foundations, is what they called them, of which there are 4 during the throne speech, that all kind of tie back into this. But yeah, it shows that they're not going to waste any time in spending more of your hard-earned money.
Aha.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe they're just going to announce maybe mandatory sick days kind of thing. I mean, that would be nice.
I'm sure that's going to probably be part of it. And Jagmeet is pushing hard for more paid sick days. So this is probably how they'll appease the NDP and get the NDP to go along with their plans and, vote for their benefit or for their budget and everything else.
I mean, that's one thing. I'm not, we all know we're pretty hardline conservatives on the show, but that is one thing, especially in my industry, that is not a guarantee, and I don't get paid anymore, is sick days. So I mean, I wouldn't mind that.
In Ontario, you are guaranteed 10 sick days, Dave.
Which is kind of funny.
Paid. They're paid.
I'll have to look it up.
Well, in my industry, which is federally regulated, we actually had to give up a lot of stuff to get 12 paid sick days, and now that just got vaporized. So any sort of negotiating capital we used up to get that just got screwed.
But it also looks like, so one of the things is CERB is no longer CERB as of today.
It's just crib.
Yeah. And apparently instead of $2,000, it's $1,600. But it's, instead of the Canadian Emergency Relief Benefit, it's the Canadian Recovery Benefit and all of that. So I think this bill is going to basically just allow them to do more things like that as well.
Recovery benefit, that sounds very open-ended and like forever-ish.
Yeah, and ludicrously expensive.
Like income tax. That was supposed to be over as soon as the war was done.
The Great War.
Yeah, and by that I mean World War I.
Yeah.
One of the big talking points was that, we've got to keep our guard up for COVIDs until a vaccine is developed, which they are pouring vast amounts of research and money into. They've got several apparently on the go and all of that nonsense because they want it to be ready ASAP so that everyone can be forced to take it.
interesting because I talked to a vet friend of mine who does like animal husbandry as well, and she was saying they've been working on a Corona style vaccine for animals for the last 20 years and haven't been able to get it right. So good luck with that.
Well, hopefully humans are far less complex than lower life forms.
Yeah,
piece of cake.
Yeah, not only that, but the best part is we have a flu vaccine and it changes every year, obviously. So the vaccine we get this year for this COVID will be different from next year's COVID, and so on and so on. It's here to stay. I mean, people got to realize that, right?
I just want there to be one that like kind of works, just to say that there is one, and so everybody can just shut the fuck up, and we can all like go back to doing our thing. You know what I mean? Just here, take it and go. If you're so worried, take it. Here you go, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I guess some other talking points you'll hear echoed throughout the four foundations is that we need to work for a safer and more just society. Because over 9,000 Canadians have died in 6 months, and then just to up the emotional ante, they made sure to talk about the 10 times plus that of the U.S. and then the worldwide numbers, because stuff happening in other countries is also our priority.
Our problem.
But amazingly enough, I went to the WHO website today, so the World Health Organization, and it points out that tuberculosis kills 1.5 million people every year. It's the world's top infectious killer, and we don't worry about TB, and we have it on reserves here up in northern Canada because I used to be in danger of being exposed to it in my early part of my career. And I used to have to wear a mask up there because TB was a big thing among the native reserves because of poor sanitation and bad water. We have never worried about that in Canada, and yet 1.5 million people a year worldwide dying. But hey,
that and apparently mothers, racialized Canadians, Indigenous people, they face the greatest struggles during COVIDs. Also, youth and lower income families, and our climate change goals must be met because of the COVIDs. I'm not really sure how those things relate, but apparently they do.
Well, COVID means more carbon tax, basically.
Yeah. If we pay a tax, the virus will go away, right?
Yeah, it's just like pollution.
It's just the paying for all this. It's just like you have 30% of the workforce, if not more, that is not working, but you want to buy all this stuff, and like the green energy thing is the biggest thing. It's just like you're constantly uninvesting, divesting, infrastructure into oil and gas where the real money is at, and into all this hot air basically for everything else that they're going after. And I'm honestly just wondering how long it can go on for before basically the whole house of cards comes crumbling down.
Well, spoiler alert.
And the money tap comes
spoiler alert. Socialism never works long term. So I mean, it'll be as long as people can keep paying taxes or decide not to leave the country, right? I mean, Pat makes a mention there on the YouTube commentary about nothing about making money in any way. No talk about balancing the budget or anything other than forwarding the liberals' Marxist socialist agenda.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they talked about making money, but it was more in the money printer go brr version of it than like actually generating, revenue. It was just in the
like
printing,
creating jobs or anything like that, or restarting the economy. Nothing like that.
They did talk about creating jobs, but the way that they want to create jobs, because
with hopes and dreams.
I mean, let's be honest. Government doesn't create jobs. They can create favorable conditions where private industry can create jobs, but government doesn't actually create jobs.
Fair point.
But they are somehow convinced that they're going to do this by taking on climate change. That is their plan, to create jobs for people.
Oh boy.
They in one of their foundations, which I mean, I guess we can get into it, which there are 4 foundations. So the first foundation was to fight the pandemic and protect Canadians, especially the most vulnerable.
Okay, why are they more important than those who are less vulnerable?
Well, because they're more vulnerable, Benny. That's why they're more important. We need to protect them more than other people.
So they.
You don't matter.
If he hadn't said that, no. But if he hadn't said that, then because they're more vulnerable, then we should assume that he doesn't care about them.
No, he doesn't care about us, Benny. He doesn't care about us. He cares about them, not us, because we're not vulnerable.
And there's more of them, and they all have a vote.
Yeah, you're not a mother or a youth or a racialized Canadian, at least not in his eyes.
I'm not a visible minority. You're right.
Yeah. So some of the things that they went on. 9 million Canadians were on CERB. They're pushing for more and more contact tracing and testing. They must have mentioned that stupid app several times. And in Trudeau's after throne speech, he mentioned it and urged all Canadians to install the contact tracing app and guarantees that it protects your privacy.
My cock.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ian, you got something in your throat? You okay, buddy?
Yeah.
You want to call 911 over there?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, they also impose appropriate measures when needed.
So when they're not needed,
stuff
they're
you in
not
the
appropriate
gulag.
measures. Like, what kind of
Stuff
BS
you
is
in the
that?
COVID gulag when you disagree.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's what it sounds like. Is that we're gonna force you to do all of this stuff, whether you need it or not, and because we say so. Like the COVID gulags that have gone into Montreal and now in Toronto, they're building one as well. They're saying 19 billion has been spent to reinforce the healthcare network. Billions in safe back to school programs and more for the Indigenous communities. Then they went on again about the COVID alert apps, because contact tracing is also going to be used for other things. I'm sure that's my tinfoil hat, but government's already proven that they have misused their ability to do things during this whole thing by looking at people's cell phone location to see where they were gathering in numbers when the lockdown officially started. So
Makes that fine giving out easier, right?
yeah, they want to create and approve vaccine immediately. And investments have been made to get that vaccine out quickly. So they've already invested in infrastructure and getting that out. Because again, take this thing that hasn't really had time to be studied. It's totally safe, I swear. Some other stuff they got here. Support businesses and individuals during the pandemic. Wage top up for support workers. Now is not the time for austerity. The conditions we're in are worse than the 2018 recession. And that all of these CERB and wage subsidy things the government took on because, individuals couldn't shoulder the debt, but the government can do it for us. They can bear the brunt of this.
I would argue that civilians and individuals take on debt and manage it better than the government does.
Yeah, I mean, especially when some of that money being spent was spent on other countries that didn't need to be spent because they have their own money. A comment was made at some point during all of this nonsense that we can't recover from the coronas if the whole world is not recovered from the coronas. But I beg to differ. We could recover just fine if we actually closed our borders.
Which we never did from day one.
Shh, Gavin, stop talking sense.
I I work right beside the airport. I see planes going in and out every day. Every day. I mean, not as many as they used to be, but there's still planes coming in, and they're not from Canada.
Yeah,
they're from Europe, and they're from Emirates,
and we get 4 a day from China here. So
yeah.
Apparently unemployment is in the double digits, and of course, women, racialized Canadians, are the bulk of that unemployment.
I'd actually like to see the stats on that, like the actual metrics. Is that true?
Also, can
anybody verify that?
And how many of those people are saying, "Hey, the CERB benefits are more than I get paid on my regular salary"? And then how many people are saying, "I'd rather get paid CERB and spend time with my kids than go back to work"?
Yeah.
Well,
or it's probably that the vast majority of women are in education or other roles like that they couldn't go. I mean, because teachers were all told to not teach the classes, so they're out of jobs, and a bunch of the other service industry jobs that typically women are the ones employed in aren't in. And with the whole wage disparity between men and women, if only one of you can go to work, you're going to choose the man to go to work because he's the one with the higher paying job, and the woman would stay home and look after the kids because all the daycare and everything is closed. So it makes sense, but I don't have any numbers, nor do they, to support any of this.
Well, a couple of things too is like every small business around here is advertising for workers because they can't get people to show up right now because they'd rather take CERB and stay at home for free.
Yeah.
And there's jobs to be had if you choose to actually take them. But I also noticed that Harjit Sajjan went out of his way to hire minorities only to offset that inherent racism in the country today.
Yeah, and they're going to develop some programs to create 1 million jobs with direct investments into the social sector, and immediate training for people to get, better jobs. And sector? Yeah, that's what they said. I'm not sure what they mean by that, but that's what they said.
What is it? What is it? I can't help but think of Office Space. Like, well, what is it you say you do here?
Yeah, that's about the time he gets all upset and calls people racist. Yeah, he doesn't want to admit that he does nothing.
Yeah, and then immediate training for people that want to upgrade their skills, employer incentives to hire and retain workers. So I'm sure that will be tied to some other nonsense, like some sort of affirmative action thing or climate change thing. Like it's already been done for some of the other benefits for companies during this time, where they had to have a climate change policy in place. Wage subsidies have been extended to summer 2021. They also want to create jobs for young Canadians.
Young Canadians.
Again, they go on to tell people that, women, especially low-income women, were hit the hardest, and they have dubbed this the she session instead of a recession.
I had no idea this virus is just so misogynist.
Well, yeah. Racist and misogynist, racist. Yeah. And that we must avoid the rolling back of women in the workforce and create an action plan for women to ensure that doesn't happen.
Raj.
They also have a feminist and intersectional approach to dealing with the pandemic.
So much virtue signaling. It's like my head hurts, and we're not even halfway through.
Yeah. The good news is, if you identify as a woman, you could probably get some better sweet deals going.
Yeah.
So are they going to stand out of a hospital and scream at the sky?
Yeah, I don't know, but
what's a feminist approach to this?
I don't know. So apparently they're going to have more accessible, affordable, inclusive childcare because that helps the ladies go back to work. Have an early learning and childcare system, flexible childcare arrangements.
I don't know about you guys, but I have a kid that's pretty brand spanky new, and my wife has to stay home because the daycare isn't open for children that age. So what are they talking about that they're going to have daycare for people if they're not opening because of COVID?
Well, that's where they've spent the billions in safe back to school programs, and we'll have early learning and childcare systems and flexible childcare arrangements. They don't have these things now, but they're going to spend all of the money on the programs to create them and create jobs.
So we'll have them in 2022, 2023?
You're lucky if you're going to have them that fast because they still haven't come through on all of the stuff that they promised on the last election go around.
We'll probably get those right around the time, Benny, that we start eating zoo animals.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that by that point, my kid's already going into elementary school, so I don't worry. I'm not going to care anymore.
Yeah, that's the way government rolls.
If they wait too long, all their potential voters are going to grow up and realize that they never got anything that they're promised. Or you'd hope.
No, but by that time, though, they'll have,
red flags will have.
Well, they'll have kids
hammer and sickle.
They'll have kids, or their kids will have kids, and then they'll still want the things for them, and it'll just keep perpetuating itself, right? So they're also going to extend the business subsidies and access to debt, because helping businesses get more debt is a good thing. That helps them, especially for the travel and entertainment industries, because those apparently have been hit the hardest. And that we would be in more debt if the government do what it did by taking on the debt because of its advantage to lock in low interest rates and whatnot. And they want to tax the wealthy. That's how they're going to solve all of this too, is tax the highest wage earners. And
Sounds an awful lot like California up in this bitch.
oh, just wait, Dave. So
Yeah.
those were the first two foundations. The third foundation, also known as the Build Back Better Foundation,
NWO.
isn't. Yeah,
is it, can I start now or do I have to wait?
No, we can get into this one. I mean,
Okay, so I threw in some links.
Open the door.
I threw in some links in the show notes. So between obviously the transcript of the throne speech, an article from JoeBiden.com, the OECD from the UN, and then the UN proper, which is actually just goes to talk right about Build Back Better. They all use the same phrase with the same bullet points as the throne speech today. So, I'm getting to the point now where, like, between the phone app tracking your movements and the camps that are being built that, maybe certain people that I may be related to used to call FEMA camps. Now they're called COVID recovery camps. Now we got the Build Back Better thing being, NWO kind of globalist action happen. It's pretty sad when Alex Jones is actually becoming kind of right after all.
Yeah. Every time he's right about something, it makes me fear.
It makes me terrified.
Yeah.
Is this sir?
Well, the
Alex
kind of,
Jones.
the kind of things he talks about, if he's ever right, it's a bad situation all around.
But now he's right on 3 things in a row in one speech from the throne. And now I'm like, okay, now I'm getting a little freaked out because if Alex Jones is right on 3 points in one day, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. It's what else is he right about?
Yeah.
So I don't listen to him, so you're going to have to elaborate what he predicted.
Well, first of all, remember the turn of the freaking frogs gay thing?
Yeah.
That was originally Alex Jones, right? And we used to laugh about that. Of course, it was technically right, but overblown. And he's always coming out with random stuff. And it just seems he's always talking about stuff a couple years in advance that seems to come up. And now he's like, wow, he wasn't actually too far off on a lot of stuff, especially with the COVID-19 thing. And just the Build Back Better slogan, it just seems to be like conveniently used at the same time by a bunch of different organizations in a bunch of different countries. So
that all have similar agendas.
Yeah, if you want to call it the Marxist agenda, the NWO agenda, the Democrat agenda, whatever, I mean, it just all seems to be like conveniently
word for word.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's getting a little bit terrifying, the fact that he did point this out a couple years ago.
Maybe they all just suck at writing speeches and are just really good at really bad at plagiarizing.
Well, to that point, I mean, I have to say, man, that remember when Stephen Harper did copy that Australian Prime Minister's speech word for word, and they both used it. And at first people were like, "Oh, New World Order," and maybe says like, "Well, maybe just Harper was lazy." I don't know, but
or at least his speechwriter was, and he didn't bother to
it's an off night. He wanted to go out drinking, get off him.
Yeah,
and I mean, he was literally Hitler if you listen to the current government. So, I mean, but now it just seems to be happening more and more and more. And now they're not even trying to hide it. I mean, the same week they're coming up with the same stuff. It's just getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean that one is that. I mean, Build Back Better. Just I don't know.
Retarded.
It sounds like terrible grammar.
It's like great leap forward. Build Back Better. Same idea.
Yeah. But yes, they want to have a more resilient Canada by strengthening the middle class, which is what they've been saying they want to do since his first go around. Yet the middle class keep getting shat on and kicked when they're down. So they want to build safer communities, and they don't want to go back to business as usual. They want to address the gaps, in the socioeconomic standings, and increase healthcare and fight climate change. And the president or the prime minister will empower provinces to better look after the elderly and publish new standards for their care, and will also make changes to the criminal code to better able them to go after those who don't look after the elderly. It'll be a inclusive plan with income supplement and virtual health care. They also want to look after the opioid epidemic and mental health problems.
Right.
Which actually, surprisingly enough, the opioid epidemic has actually killed more people than the actual COVID. So,
and along with the opioid epidemic, they also want to have a federal universal drug plan to keep drug prices low, so to keep those opioids cheap for everybody, so they can get addicted to them and die.
Isn't that already the case?
Pretty
No,
much.
there is no federal universal drug plan, at least not in the way that they're doing it. They want to have it be. I mean, I guess they can't make it so that they pay for, or sorry, your taxes pay for everybody's medication just yet, but this is a step in that direction.
Okay.
They also want to ban assault-style firearms and provide the municipalities the ability to ban or further restrict firearms because we must protect women and other vulnerable groups from guns. Also, just as important, apparently, is that all Canadians have the internet, universal broadband, and reliable regional airlines.
So we're getting rid of Air Canada?
Whoa, easy now.
He said regional airlines, not national.
Yeah, come on now. So first of all, they already banned assault-style firearms if you go by their definition. So I don't know why they're repeating that.
Yeah. Well, I guess he had to double down on that one to make sure that, despite the fact that there are 5 lawsuits and a bunch of other things going on related to that, that they are still pushing forward with their UN agenda to ban guns.
And again, under the pandering banner, I mean, if you're worried about universal broadband, I mean, most people that live in the far sticks that don't have internet access, you're obviously pandering to a certain group of people too, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't mean rural Albertan gun owners.
Yeah, no, but if you live in the middle of nowhere, you should have fast internet to download your cat videos and porn and stream Tiger King. And also have the ability to fly to anywhere in the world cheaply and easily, despite the fact that you live in the middle of nowhere. Which is usually why people do that, so that they're away from those modern conveniences. But I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And that, they need all of that.
He did mention giving a bunch of money to the homeless, but of course, because of the COVID policy they've had with hotels, a lot of these hotels have gone bankrupt because they haven't had any tourist traffic or any visitors, or they've had to restrict the amount of visitors per hotel. All these hotels have gone bankrupt, so now the government is scooping them up on the cheap to house homeless people in.
Yeah.
Does that not seem like state housing, like Soviet style?
Pretty much.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they said they put $1 billion to the homeless. They're going to have a first-time home buyer incentive to help the middle class.
What about this? What about all the people who lost their homes? Shouldn't they have a second home buyer incentive or third home buyer incentive?
Nope. Screw those guys. They couldn't manage their budgets, Benny, and they don't get a second chance until they become completely homeless. In which case, then we put them in a nice hotel that's gone bankrupt. Yeah.
Which will basically immediately turn into a drug slum.
Yep.
Yeah. They're going to partner with not-for-profits and co-ops for lower-income housing to be built. Free automatic simple tax filing. So make it easy and automatic for you to give away your hard-earned money to the government. Climate change will be the cornerstone of job creation. And they will immediately implement a plan to overshoot their climate action goals.
So wait a second. If they turn these empty hotels into housing for the homeless, and then there's a drug surge or whatever, then they can turn them into a shoot house, and it's like three birds with one stone. They can train their
if there's a drug problem going on in there, it's a shoot house. It's just a different kind of shooting.
Well, they could train their police officers. Give them the room-to-room clearing practice, lower the carbon footprint because they're getting rid of all the people who live there, and now they got a nice big clean building again.
Have you not watched what happens when cops shoot perps that are coming at them, even with a weapon down in the States?
Well, I mean, I thought we were going to defund the police, so there won't be even any police to go through the building. So
no, these are going to be tactical social workers.
Okay.
Or sanitary workers, because that's part of the green initiative.
Taking out the trash type of thing.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, if they're going to simplify tax filing, does that mean they're going to lay off CRA employees? Like, how does that create jobs?
No, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, you're still going to need somebody there to do it for you. But instead of you having to fill out your taxes and then send money, it's probably they're just going to send you a bill, which they probably can already do because you fill your taxes out, you send it in, and then they tell you whether you're right or you're wrong.
And chances are it'll be wrong because you're going to have to pay more.
Yeah. But yes, with the sort of climate goals and everything, zero emission vehicles and zero emission batteries are the thing that they are pushing. That is how they're going to create jobs, is by focusing on those industries. And they have a fund to attract interest in zero emissions products so that people will invest in Canada and build factories here to create jobs in that industry. Have they done any sort of research into where all these zero emission batteries, all the basic components come from?
No.
Oh, you mean
stop thinking, Ian.
You mean minerals that are found in Afghanistan? That kind of stuff?
Child labor in Africa type of thing. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It creates jobs there too, just for the public.
Okay.
They also recognize that farmers, foresters, and ranchers are partners in fighting climate change, and that they will ban single-use plastics in 2021.
Well, under the
Despite
feminism,
the fact that we needed all of these single-use plastics to fight the coronas.
Yeah, and not to mention that as a feminist, he should know that single-use plastics are like needed by females every month.
Yeah, for at least a week.
For at least a week out of every month.
Yeah.
And if you try and tell them they can't have that, well, good luck.
Yeah. Or if you try to tell them that they have to pay tax on it.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That didn't go over so well down
No.
south.
Yeah, that no, you don't want to take those away from them. That's So then the fourth foundation is
Sorry. I was just imagining imagining the Prime Minister pushing the free flow mentality.
he does, but it's with our money.
Yeah.
So the fourth
not
foundation
that kind of
was,
tap, not
was
that kind of tap.
Stand up for who we are, which I didn't think that Canadians had a core identity, but here we are standing up for who we are. So we want to fight gender inequality and push for reconciliation with Indigenous people. Move forward faster with distinction-based physical health and mental health programs for the Indigenous people. Continue to look into the missing and murdered Indigenous women. Meet Clean Drinking Water Initiative, which how many years have they been trying to do this now?
Since 2016.
Yeah. Implement the UN Declaration on Indigenous Rights before the end of the year. Once again, they reiterated that COVID has affected racialized Canadians the most. They also want to attack systemic racism based on lived experience of racialized Canadians. Take action on online hate. The Black Entrepreneur Program, an anti-racism secretariat has been created.
Ooh,
There's some
secretariat. It's almost like sounds like very Soviet, doesn't it?
Yeah, although great racehorse. Economic empowerment for specific communities, of which they didn't say, but it's almost surely not us. There's an initiative to hire minorities for public sector positions, as evidenced by Harjeet, and some other things that will likely be coming down the pipe. Black and Indigenous people are overrepresented in the criminal justice system, so the government will ensure that strong hand of criminal justice.
What's wrong with having a black lawyer?
The other side of the coin, Benny.
But I mean, they had the Gladue ruling for the Indigenous people, which
misrepresented.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes, meaning that blacks and Indigenous people make up the vast number of people that are charged in criminal offenses.
So stop breaking the fucking law.
Yeah, so what they did is they actually made it law in Canada that under the Gladue ruling that you had to, by law, give Indigenous people a lower sentence for the same crime perpetrated by anybody else in Canada in order to offset the amount of time they spend in prison, so they're more equally represented, even though they're committing more crimes more often. So they're going to try and do the same thing with the people of the higher melanin count.
Oh wow, it's going to go over amazing. As if Toronto wasn't bad enough.
So basically, Somali trolleys down in what do you call it, Derry and the Islington or something like that area. basically they're going to get a lower sentence.
Awesome.
So the government is going to ensure that the strong hand of criminal justice will be used to ensure everyone's safety, but not where it will be discriminatory or counterproductive.
So, like, everyone's screaming in the States that, there's our prisons are full, so we got to release people early, even though they shouldn't be. Here, we're not even going to send them to jail because we're just going to say, hey, our quota. We have our prisons have reached their choose your flavor of the month quota, so we can't send you to.
No, it'll be more that, like, you are this particular race, so you go to jail. You're of a different race, you go to jail for less time or not at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
That way they can
every
balance things out.
single one of the things that they're coming out with is actually more racist than the next.
Yep.
What, you mean treating people differently because of their skin color is racist?
Yes.
Oh,
I still understand how nobody there's got to be somebody like in a back room writing the goddamn things, just like, this is the most racist shit I've ever heard. I can't believe it. They're going with this. This is just crazy.
Dave, that is your privilege talking.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
The
I never had to
Smithsonian
work
came
on
out
anything
with aspects that are white, and coming on time and keeping a job is just signs that those are white privilege talking.
Yeah, stop waking up at 5 a.m. every day, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, so for Pat Plant, the listener right now, if you look up the GLADUE ruling, GLADUE, you can actually see that it is actually reduced for certain colors of people.
I think I've heard of it.
You have to be careful though, because if you say it in the wrong combination of words, it actually summons the Necronomicon.
Yeah, that's right.
And the evil deadites will come and start taking over.
That's right. Glatu Ferrata Nictu or something like that.
Careful.
Whoa.
It's like Beetlejuice, but worse. Yeah.
Oh.
No, but just as a reminder, white privilege is the privilege of having nobody else to blame for your fuck-ups in life.
Yeah. So they also want to have some legislation to address systemic injustices in the justice system, more civilian oversight for police, including the RCMP. That's something I'm fine with. They want
a lot of that.
Yeah, they want to modernize training and update standards for use of force, community-led policing for the RCMP, and co-develop legislation framework for Indigenous policing as an essential service. I have no idea what that even means.
They most of the reserves have their own like little private police. That's run by them, right?
So what happens is usually the having lived up north and lived in the reserves myself, what happens is the Indigenous locals usually end up starting off as special constables, and in order to make it to a full member, they have to do a few certain things, obviously, right? And there's some issues that come up because of either their personal history or what have you. Anyways, that makes it tougher for them to police their own, which I think they should, because they know the community better than anybody else. Like, you get some random guy from like New Brunswick shows up into Northwest Territories.
Yeah, and I think that should be for all police forces.
Yeah, you'd rather have somebody local do it.
Yeah, when I hear local policing, that's what I think of. I think of the guy who lives down the street and knows.
So that part I get. It was the co-developed legislative framework for Indigenous policing as an essential service. If they're policing, are they not already essential?
Yeah, I think they are essential, but by the same token, though, they're actually not going out of their way to source local police.
Well, there you go.
And actually, I'm actually 100% behind that. That's, it worked very well, actually, because like if you've known a guy forever, you can kind of talk him down a little easier than if you don't know the guy from Adam, right?
Agreed. And also, like, if the local guy is the same flavor that you are, you can't really say he's racist.
Exactly. And that's where 90% of the problems came from when I was up there.
Yeah. They also want to protect the francophones and French language outside of Quebec and make it easier for immigrants to seek permanent residency, increase immigration, and supports family reconciliation, increase international development. That means money going out of the country to help fight COVID worldwide. And they also support that no citizens to be arbitrarily detained in other countries. There's those two guys that are currently being held somewhere, and
the Michaels in China.
Yeah, he wants
that they Justin gets them out. Yeah, the day Justin gets them out is the day hell freezes over.
Yeah.
Well, he wants them to be sent back, but he doesn't have a plan how to do that. He just wants it to happen.
Well, you have to say no to China then. So that'd be hard, right?
Well,
But
idolizes them. So
I hate to break it to Justin, but like French is a dying language worldwide, right? So I mean, like you can try and prop up Quebec as best you can.
I mean, in the whole thing, they said that they wanted to protect the English-speaking inside of Quebec, but also, and more equally, protect French-speaking people outside of Quebec.
I like how you put that, more equally.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if the population is healthy, like for example the Franco-Manitobans in Winnipeg, I mean they have a thriving society. They don't need government influence and everything else because it's naturally like encouraged there. But to try and force it down people's throats is a different thing, right?
It's because they're white.
I suppose,
right?
Sure.
That's what's going on here. They're white. That's why.
And by increased immigration, do they mean like the Roxham Road crew, or do they mean like?
They did not specify in this.
Yeah.
I imagine it's not Europeans. Yeah, I mean that was basically the speech. It was about an hour-ish long. The pomp and circumstance was just as long as the actual speech itself. The pomp and circumstance had more substance, though, because at least there were guns and music and funny hats.
And not one random beating.
Yeah, sadly. And then they kind of went to talk to Jagmeet after. We kind of talked about it quickly. But basically, he said the Liberals have say all the right things but don't deliver. They've been talking about farming or pharmacare and housing, for years, and they haven't delivered on it. They've also made a proposal to cut, the Canadian or the help to the Canadians that need it now for CERB, that can't go back to work. So the way he sort of said it at first sounded like they'd cut everything altogether, and then he kind of backpedaled slightly on that and said that, well, they're reducing it from 2,000 to 1,600, but.
Well, the good news is, and I hate to agree with the Liberals at some point, but anyways, by reducing the CERB, you might actually get a few of these people to actually take a job versus stay on CERB. Because, I mean, at the point at $2,000 a month, you were way better off than, being on a minimum wage job. So at 1,600, they're going to be like, well, maybe I'll actually, put some effort in.
Because you're still there. So, it's now 1,600, and then that's tax. So more like 1,200-ish.
Well, wait till the tax bill shows up for a lot of these people that didn't plan ahead. They're gonna be like, oh, wait a minute.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I guess his closing remarks were that he doesn't want to tear down government, but he really urges the Liberals to keep CERB, or at least the equivalency. He doesn't care how it's delivered. He wants that $2,000 a month and add more paid sick days.
Yeah.
So basically, to me, I'm not going to reject your throne speech, but because I'm not doing that, give me what I want, which is, my $2,000 a month in whatever way you see fit and more sick days.
Yeah.
So basically, he's doing the same thing. He's accusing Justin, which I think is what the left does. They just see what they're doing and then yell at you for doing this, for them thinking you're doing the same thing.
Well, and
you're all racist, and now we're going to make such racist policies that you're not going to know what racist means anymore.
Well, under the Solomonsky's Rules for Radicals book, basically they accuse their opposition of doing what they're actually doing.
Yeah. That to answer Joe's question, no, they didn't say how they're going to pay for any of it. That's the next piece of the puzzle they will present, which is the budget, which will give people another opportunity to vote down and have a vote of no confidence. But they did mention that they want to tax the wealthy, so you can guess where the money's going to come from, the middle class, because that's who they're trying to help. Yeah.
Define wealthy.
Yeah. You can afford your own place, therefore you're wealthy.
Yeah.
Not anymore, you can't. Not anymore.
Yeah, no, this is true. I'm still stuck in a condo, as we can see.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a reminder, if they took care of the sanitation problems that had happened before 2016, but if they would have taken care of them back then, we'd have less problem with TB on reserves. If they would have, stuck with 0.2 there, universal basic income, when they changed it from CERB to CRB, it's more of the same, which is going to be ludicrously expensive.
Well, and eventually it'll just become UBI.
And then it would just become BI, basic income, which is communism.
And then it'll just become breadlines, yeah.
Yeah, and then you moved on to, like, try to find something original other than Build Back Better. I mean, seriously, like, when basically you're taking your marching orders from the UN, you've got problems. And then number 4, if you're welcoming and you're fighting discrimination of any kind, stop picking on gun owners and stop picking on people that aren't of color. You know, like,
basically every special interest.
They're already taking all of our money.
Is going to get free stuff,
except for white people. Except for
gun owners, yeah.
And white people.
They're taking away our free stuff, or our stuff that we paid for, that we're daily vetted for.
Well, and
we should really start saying
just my money,
white people or perceived white people.
Yeah,
or just call them perceived white people.
Because I mean, honestly, like when they actually advertise publicly that they are hiring visible minorities only, that is inherently racist. And so I put in the link in the show notes about how can you actually advertise something that says no white people allowed and still not come off as racist?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know.
What do I know?
Yeah.
I'm just
you anti-racist, you.
I'm just happy on the West Coast.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should probably wrap things up. We got to come in under the time of the speech because we're better than they are.
1 second. What was the afternoon thing about? Was it more of the same?
It was literally Trudeau power reading through the same bullet points. There was no new information.
What a waste.
Well, so Trudeau writes the throne speech, but the Governor General is the one that delivers it, and she was there in her white power suit, reading the book like story time.
Listen up, children.
Yeah, with the big throne behind and everything. It was very much like a fairy godmother type thing, except that it was all bullshit. Although I guess fairy tales are also bullshit.
Sorry, I shouldn't say that.
But
doesn't she inappropriately treat her staff?
Yes.
She was actually fired by now.
Yeah, big bully.
Yeah, if she was a private company, she would have been fired or sued or something. But because she's the Governor General and is basically the one that's in charge of enforcing all of that stuff, there's no real higher power to go to complain.
Like, I know it's
other than I guess Trudeau, who elbows people in the tit. So what's he gonna do?
Like, does the Queen know what a screw up is going on over here? Like, I know it's all in name, but seriously.
No, she's too busy wearing fancy hats.
Actually, she's too busy asking for bailouts from the British public right now, because according to her, the British public has to provide her with millions in bailout money because the COVID, her revenue has decreased. So she's actually telling the plebes they have to
How do you expect her to get those fancy hats without the money?
Yeah.
So serious?
She's asking. What? She's the world's biggest landowner, and she's telling people that they have to pay her more money right now. So she's busy.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's a landlord. She wants her rent.
Yeah.
Bitch better have my money.
If I hear anybody refer to Julie Payette as an astronaut one more time, I'm going to snap. Because, like I said, she spent like 20 years in university and like a couple days in space. And I'm sorry. But like, if you spent like 3 hours doing a porn tape and 20 years as a dish digger, you're not a porn star.
Yeah, but have you been to space?
Technically,
close.
Not yet. Close.
Yeah, closer than most.
Closer than most.
Yeah. All right.
Rocket Man.
Yeah. Don't. It always kind of weirded me out, not weirded out, but made me go, So, Elton John recorded Rocket Man. Guns N' Roses recorded Rocket Queen. I'll let you guys think about that one. But don't forget to buy your big luau shirts, especially after hearing today's throne speech. Let's go around and see where everyone can be found. Ian, where can everybody find you?
Well, you can email me at the islandretreat@gmail.com, and you can also find me recording Canadian Prepper Podcast Sunday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern on iTunes. On YouTube and Facebook. We record to iTunes as well. You can find us on there.
Excellent. David, yourself?
Find me on the IGs at Diesel6223.
Benny?
Bennews.ca.
Got anything?
We're selling hero protection, custom molding hero protection, Sentry straps for your slings and rifles.
Kids books.
We still have some kids' books in stock. Yep, and
Excellent.
mag loaders.
Excellent. You can find me on the Instagrams as well, Urbix_GCA. And you can also find me on the Ragnaroks. If you've listened this long, you deserve a discount, especially if you listen to the throne speech and then Trudeau's reinterpretation of the throne speech. So use the code Patriot at checkout at ragnaroktactical.ca for a discount. That, and I would like to remind everybody that you are the true North, strong and free.